Welcome to Got a Lot in Our Minds. This is children's programming's favorite podcast.
Absolutely.
I am one of your hosts. My name is Stevie B. My co-host.
What's good? You know me by Kells. You can find me on Instagram at Kells55. And then obviously follow the Got a Lot on Our Minds podcast Instagram too. Today we have a very special guest from our Octays, SUNY Orange New Media. Our boy, the legend, he is a plant aficionado. He goes by the name of Ian. So, Ian, if you'd like to just introduce yourself real quick.
Hello everyone. I am Ian. I am a old friend of the host here. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in plant science. However, I am definitely involved in many other things besides plants, just out of nature of STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, which is just kind of one of those things that out of the nature of it being it as itself, it just involves everything. And I implore many other people to try and get into STEM. Sorry to have to plug that here, but I had to do it for my boys back in the laboratory. You know what I'm saying?
Gang.
Yeah. I am a guy who is learning all about cannabis and specifically cannabis extractions and analytics, and you guys will learn all about that.
And yeah, Ian, Chris told me that you said you're an open book.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't ask you how you fucking shave your balls. Like, we don't do that. But like,
listen,
we might.
anything. I don't give a fuck. I would tell you which way everything. If I'm going east or west, homie, I don't give a shit.
I mean, if you want to promote your TikTok, because I'm big about, just.
Oh shit! What's your TikTok?
Being on.
It's just being Ian, but like I started it in the fucking middle of midterms because I needed like
a release.
As I'll allude to later on, like I've been so balls deep in science that I needed some creative outlet. So I was just like, fuck it, TikTok, it's easy. And then I learned it, and then I just started it. I kind of liked it, and it was fun. And I think just people responded to just me in the greenhouses, like of the school that I go to SUNY Global Skill. I just transferred. This is my first semester, and I just kind of started recording random bits of me in the greenhouse, me walking to school in the snow, and upstate New York in the winter is always a fun affair because you don't know. 1 second it's sunny, and then like you're literally walking to school, which is like, I don't know, from your car, which is like, let's say a quarter-mile distance, just because it's everything out there is just long distances. And literally from the halfway point of walking from my car to my class, it starts snowing. By the time I get out of my car, to my car, there is at least 2.5 inches of snow, and I have a 40 minute drive back on the highway.
And you're like, fuck.
I'm like, because that means, and it's like, I think this was a fucking Friday, so all the tractors and trailers are going, and everyone's fucking going home. All the professors are leaving, and like I like, if for anyone who doesn't know, I should say what I'm doing right now is I am getting my bachelor's in plant science from SUNY Global Skill in the pursuit of the cannabis industry. And just with that being said, I was driving home in the snow was a common affair in the fucking winter time. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to school for, at least right now. And then I'm in SUNY Global Skill for my bachelor's in plant science, hoping to go into, again, keyword is hoping, trying, working my fucking best to get into Cornell University's master's program for a master's in professional services for hemp science. My special interest area, specialty, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is particularly in extractions and I guess you could say like what you could utilize with cannabis, because like there's no shortage of people growing it. Let's just say that, especially with recent legalization.
I was gonna
So-
say, especially with New York, with Cuomo just fucking legalizing it. It starts next year, right?
I believe so. I haven't.
Right, that whole
Admittedly,
process.
I'm going crazy with school at the moment, so I haven't been able to truly like sit down and read the legal documentation yet. But because I at the moment mostly in school work with hemp, which is technically within the confines of legality. So I kind of am in my own world with that because that's just what the school can provide at the current moment prior to all of this.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So for my dumbass, break that down to me. What is it? Break down to me like what an extraction
ahead.
is for someone I'm not a.
No, by all means. Basically any kind of quote unquote extraction is just breaking down a particular thing. I guess it depends on what you're talking about, because like you can extract diamonds from the ground, you can extract seeds from an apple, but my point, what I'm doing specifically is extracting specific chemicals, cannabinoids, from cannabis plants, whether it's hemp for CBD or other species of cannabis that we think of just quote unquote weed that we buy from a dealer or something, or a dispensary, I should say. A legal dealer, ladies and gentlemen, of course.
Yes,
Have
your
your
local
class.
pharmacist.
What class do you think I don't have? Come on. But like I think people quite often overlook that like cannabis is like, I think the phylogenetic tree of life goes like single celled organism all the way to human beings.
Right.
And let's just say there's a lot of fucking shit in between that, more than a single, like more than any single like visual representation could articulate to the layperson up to the smartest fucking person on earth. So like, with that being said, there's so many diverse species of living things that it has to be broken down to the best way I was ever explained it was by a very, very, very serious, lovely Japanese woman teaching me biology. And she explained it, the acronym King Philip came over for good sex. It's kingdom, phylum, family, order, phylum, species,
over for
genus, species, whatever the fuck, like all these different
great
things. Yeah, exactly. So you get down to phylum, which is like a sub part of that basically, and that's what cannabis is. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong about this, but what we think of,
no one on this podcast is going to question you on this. We take your word.
I appreciate it. So like okay, so like when we think of sativa or indica, that is like the species name of the phylum of cannabis. So like that's indicating whether it's this or it's this. Like, okay, for example, an easier way to explain it is like, okay, a dog is a dog. We assume, we call all these things dogs, but like, okay, there's German Shepherds, there's Huskies, there's Pit Bulls, there's Chihuahuas. There's a very large span of biodiversity in one animal because of human, manipulation for the purpose of our own things, whether it's working dogs or it's family nursing dogs helping kids, like Pit Bulls were raised to be. So we kind of do the same thing with plants that we want to manipulate for things that we want. So what I'm doing is kind of messing with the genetics either directly, either literally taking the genetics from one plant into the other, or crossbreeding two plants or whatever to when they generate, or rather when they germinate, they have a new kind of plant that is within the species of either indica or sativa, or I'm not sure what the scientific name for hybrid is, but anyway, so with those species comes different chemicals that I'm thus extracting for people. Either, let's just say, okay, there's tinctures for CBD that you see fucking everywhere now. Like, that's not bad, but it's just like, I don't know, it's like you can buy chocolate milk from fucking your regular gas station, or you can buy that nice shit in a fucking glass bottle. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You got the higher end and then kind of like the lower end.
Exactly. But that's just the nature of agriculture anyway. So,
Yeah.
Or anything really. So yeah, I'm basically trying to take specific chemicals that are, let's say I'm a doctor and I have a patient with cerebral palsy. I have a patient with, depression and anxiety, and I have a patient with like I don't know, like irritable bowel syndrome and like just overall muscle aches, just like some amalgamation of patients with all these different things.
Right.
If in my perfect world, I can go in the back, all right, I want this plant which has this cannabinoid, this plant which has this cannabinoid, this plant which has this cannabinoid, take those cannabinoids together and then give them to the patient either in a combined form or a supplement form or whatever the fuck, like you get in a pharmacy or something.
Right.
But it's just plant chemicals that are considered a controlled substance.
Mhm.
But it's the same shit that you'd get from like anything else. Like, doesn't matter if you're extracting. I'm trying to think, because like we don't really. I can't think off the top of my head of like things that we extract from plants specifically, like for everyday purposes necessarily, but like
Right.
it's not I guess now, all right, now it would be everyday purposes would be cannabis extractions, but like extracting is just taking one thing out of another, for lack of a better way of saying it. But I'm interested in extracting and analyzing what's in it to see what chemicals are in it and to see if there's anything like pesticides or heavy metals or anything that could hurt somebody, that I then tell the grower, hey, you got to change your shit, and then whatever. That's just one thing I'm interested in, but I'll stop right there for now.
That's definitely dope. If you want to actually back up, how did you have kind of like a reason that got you into this?
Yes.
If you want to explain that a little bit more.
Absolutely. So the last time I had seen you guys was what, in
like 2017,
like 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
So around that time I was interested in cannabis, but like I had no real direction in anything. I was I'll get back to this part of this state of mind later, but I had no real like place that I was going. I just had interest and I didn't know how to, put one and one together to equal two, so to speak. I had all these ideas and I was trying all these different things, but I was still
you're throwing shit at the wall to see what would stick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And make a long story short, I was like, all right, well, my buddy is trying to join the Marine Corps, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll do that too, because a few years prior to that I had tried, but I was way too overweight. I think the Navy was like, hey buddy, we need people, but we don't need you. So like, all right, appreciate you. And that was one of the many, many things that started a very long journey of weight loss, and I ended up losing. All right, so fast forward a little bit to me trying to get into the Marine Corps with my friend. We were working out every day, and I
remember that.
Yeah, I had lost
really
around. At that time, I think I had lost around like 100 pounds or so, or maybe like 120 pounds or so at that time alone.
Which is crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
overall, thank you very much. Overall, I lost like 130, and trust me, I still have the fucking skin to show for it. If you gentlemen are interested in leather wallets or a nice lampshade, just, I can ask my doctor. I'm not sure the legality, but it's my, we can work something out.
It'll be between us and the podcast.
Exactly. Well, keychain, some.
God.
Anyway, so upon losing the weight, excuse me, upon losing the weight and kind of being in this like good, like my life was kind of like in a tornado. So at least from all the shit I was trying to do, but I was like, all right, well, this is the first time I was ever healthy.
Mhm.
So, hey, let's go to a doctor and just make sure, like, hey, let's just get a status quo, because before that, I've never been to a doctor and not told like, hey, buddy, you gotta lose weight or some shit like that. So I go to the doctor and they're like, oh, cool, you lost all this weight. That's great. They're checking me out. Like, blood pressure's good. All this other shit is good. And they start feeling my neck and they're like, whoa, what's going on here, bro? There was apparently a lump that shouldn't have been there or something on my neck. And a few months they give me a whatever.
Go biopsy?
No, not directly, but they give me a referral. And then a little while later I get a sonogram.
Mm.
And then that turns into another referral, which then they tell me, hey, so you have 2 giant tumors on your thyroid and a cyst. You have there was 1 tumor on this side, 1 tumor on this side, and I think it's cyst on this side. So imagine like, I don't know how do you describe that, like an L shape, whatever.
Mm.
After that, I was like, oh fuck.
Jesus,
Yeah,
that's
never a good
good.
sign.
No. And like, this is like right after I think we were done with the class, that whatever fucking class it was, I think post-production. And
I think it was the brand development class. Yeah.
Something like that. And I just remember thinking, all right, well, I gotta do something about that. Because like, well, it's weird because my health, I'm healthy. Like, this is the first time in my life I'm healthy. So it's obviously not necessarily a health, like a direct health based issue out of not being healthy. So it's like,
Right.
which is often the standards of why people get cancer, I guess. But then I'm like, all right, well, I can't do anything else about it besides just fucking do something about it. So the only thing I can do by the doctor's standards is, wait until I can get a biopsy and see if it's cancer and all this other shit. But in the meantime, what else can I do? I don't know. I think you guys know me enough to know, like, I'm a very carefree going person.
Mm-hmm.
But that carefreeness and like my ability to be so free and kind to just everyone I meet is because I have an agency over myself that I don't think a lot of people necessarily have.
Mm-hmm.
Just that comes from, admittedly, I'm happily wearing the scalps of the demons that I've overcome in my many years over my neck, and I wear them with pride. So I'm like, hey, nothing's gonna bother me this much, like, you know what I mean? But when you get smacked in the face with your own mortality, you're like, all right, what other agency can I take over myself? So I had already had this long interest of, being in cannabis and wanting to be in the industry necessarily. And I was like, well, I was going to go into the military and do something with that, and then come out and use the GI Bill to go to school. So I'm like, all right, why don't I just fucking go to school or just do something? But in the meantime, I'm like, all right, why don't I just fucking use the product I'm interested in using anyway, in making? So I started I don't know, I just started like chugging CBD in everything I had in my drinks, my food, my fucking ice cream, my anything. And I rubbed it on my throat every day. I put it I used it just religiously. I did everything but fucking bathe in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how much longer later, but I go back to the doctor, and the day of the biopsy that I'm supposed to get, and they tell me they're doing another sonogram, and they tell me that nothing's there. And
God damn.
I listen.
How the fuck did you explain where they're like, there's nothing here, and you're like,
I was like,
I don't know. You tell me,
hey,
doc.
Hey, player, what you talking about? Like, don't fuck with me.
You're the one who told me it was there. Like,
Yeah, like,
what's
yeah,
going on
you brought me here. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Like, I'm your patient, son. So I'm not, listen, as a scientist, you cannot necessarily equate correlation with causation.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say I didn't take it as a little bit of a sign that said, hey, player, just fucking do what you're interested in. Just go for it.
Yeah, right.
Again, I had all, like, as you guys know, we met in media school. So that, like, the arts have always, like, the arts and the medium of film and new media as we know it, as you and Steve know it, but like in terms of visual media is something that's always been a part of my life. But like part of that visual media was what visual media was I consuming? Science. So all my life it was just like science and history, and like I wasn't one of those kids that necessarily only had to watch documentaries, but like I fucking liked them.
Yo,
I was gonna say, did you like subconscious, like did it finally click that you're like subconsciously like, even when I dive into the visual media arts, this is still the shit that I'm attracted to within that. Like,
I mean, kind of, but it was more like, it was kind of like, all right, I have these skills now. At the time, it was like, all right, I have these skills now, and I can either like go down this path with cannabis, or like spend more time trying to fix the shit of my life. All like at the time, my life was just a fucking mess, especially with the mess that got dropped on me with thinking I had fucking cancer, thyroid cancer. Yeah. So like I was like, all right, I gotta fucking okay, I'm sorry.
Especially at such a young age, like that's, I mean, you never want to hear that news, but just to equate it at like a younger age, it's just always
exactly.
I can't even imagine that.
It was no, but hey, listen, I ain't mad. I have that. I am like very, very, dare I say, grateful for those kinds of things, because when you are smashed with your own mortality and you have to take agency over your life the way that I was forced to, or if not forced to, then I have the opportunity to and had then forced myself to, then I don't know. That's a perspective you don't quite get without being forced to get it. So
yeah, I got you.
I don't know. I ain't mad. I guess when I was going back to the media thing, like it had always been like a common thing in my life, as did science. And like, I guess, I don't know, I was always a smart kid, but I was in like basically in dealing with the fucking trauma of my childhood, I became the comedic caricature of Ian that everyone knows me for, which is not necessarily not who I am. I am that person, but obviously there's Ian being funny and being in Ian caricature mode, but that is just thus displaying one side of my, fucking amalgamation of my personality. I'm very much a chameleon by nature of how I grew up. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like I I'm from New York City, but I was raised in Warwick, but I like had such a constant going back and forth, like fucking one day of the week I'm a couple miles in the woods in hunting season with a deer on my shoulder, and the next couple of weeks I'm helping I'm a fucking child, by the way, helping my dad on a construction site in the fucking South Bronx, being being a little white kid going into a bodega asking for a bunch of chopped cheese and a malta goya. You know what I'm saying? Listen,
Chopped cheese. Oh,
Chef's kiss.
wow. Shout out, chopped
Right,
cheese.
yeah. It's
You know what I'm saying?
when you're that impressionable and that little, from going drastically from one to the other, it's a lot to fucking just
yeah. And so
absorb.
imagine that with everything else in my life, just like seeing both sides of everything. So fast forward to this point in my life, I have, after basically being told I had cancer and I don't have cancer, like, all right, what the fuck am I gonna do? So all right, I've tendered the right brain for a while. I don't have much in the left brain, so to speak, and my GPA is shit because like when I was super depressed, I fucked up on going to school and I basically like ruined my GPA at Orange Community, and I was getting it up when I was in school with you guys, and then after that semester, I think all this happened in like the spring or the summer anyway. So like by the fall, I go to a different school and I spent like a year there getting my GPA up and everything. And that's when what led me onto the road was I was onto the road to cannabis, like where I am now. I had all this interest in doing cannabis, and I was like, I'll fucking do whatever I got to do. Like, I'll sleep in a fucking trailer outside of something. I don't give a shit. And then one thing that actually happened that I just remember now, hilariously enough. Hold on. My dad's coworker had a friend who worked in Oregon, and he was doing exactly what I'm interested in, which was extractions and like growing and extracting and all these other things. So, make a long story short, through fucking hellfire and brimstone, I finally get this guy's number to talk to him. And I'm telling you, at this point, like, I'm ready to move to Oregon to start this shit. I have a place to stay. I have a restaurant job lined up because of the guy that I was working with at ShopRite at the time. Like, X, Y, and fucking Z. I was ready to go. This is summer 2019. Don't forget, like, just so the timing of this.
Okay.
Summer 2019. I talked to this guy on the phone. He's half fucking with me and half like interviewing me to see if I can even handle being fucked with. Therefore, can I handle? If I can articulate him through his bullshit in one way, I might be smart enough to handle him in an actual serious environment. I don't know, whatever the fuck. So he's like, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Are you coming out here to steal the gold?" I'm like, huh? I'm like, listen, man. I'm technically a minister through the Universal Life Church. I paid $40 online to get the card, but and I don't mind gold over silver or platinum. I'm a lover of all precious metals, sir. whatever the fucking shit I said. After 20 minutes of that bullshit, I basically finally get him to talk to me, like, seriously. And he basically very kindly, like, lets me know, like, hey man, I'm sorry, we don't really have any particular jobs out here right now in where I work, but like, I'm just gonna let you know straight up, like, if you come out here just from out of nowhere as a kid, you don't know shit about anything, like, you're gonna get fucked with. You're gonna fucking live in a fucking like tent on the grow and be basically a slave laborer, because out here, who the fuck do you know other than the person that you think you're gonna get a place from or whatever. And like, basically very like gave me the hardest kick in the balls he could, but with the kindest, kindest like wafting of my face as he's doing it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like being so fucking brutally honest that it's like, oh, thank you for stomping on this dream that I've been working for the last couple months, all summer, whatever the fuck. Like getting all these connections and everything.
Right.
But again, just like the last time, all right, you get kicked in the balls by cancer, you get kicked in the balls by reality, or I guess reality via cancer, reality via a person in the industry. What the fuck else am I gonna do? Take agency and do something about it. So my sister, who was going to SUNY Oneonta, and she was going for one thing, and I'm like, all right, what do they have here? And I was like, all right, fuck it, it's environmental sustainability. I can do that in the semester. I had gotten my grades up enough from the other community college, from Orange Community and Rockland Community, enough to even get into Oneonta, which was a huge fucking thing in itself. And then I go from one semester of environmental sustainability at Oneonta to I switched my major to biology. In me getting, inundated into the world of STEM, so to speak, from both like, geology and biology, evolution, methods in population genetics, ichthyology, all these classes that I'm taking, like that I really enjoyed. Like, well, I should say, I enjoyed the content, but I'm doing all this, and then COVID hit, fucking spring of 2020.
Yeah.
So, like, I got this much of actual, like, I got a little bit of actual in lab experience, and then I get a fucking year of bullshit online biology. Lose my fucking mind. I take 21 credits over the summer. I take 21 credits over the fall, all online, all with COVID, all science and everything. And I lose my fucking mind. And I was like, fuck this shit. This is all biology about animals. I'm not doing anything about cannabis. Like, I have all the biology credits. I have all this science knowledge now. What am I going to do with it? And then one day, my fucking ichthyology professor, which is fish biology, is talking about his time at SUNY Cobleskill, which is a half an hour down the fucking road from where I was in Oneonta. I'm like, oh, what they got? And they had plant science. And you know what? I remembered they had plant science because I was told about this by the person I was talking about when I was in sustainability, because the advisor I had back then basically told me, you think you're gonna go into fucking biology? What the fuck do you think? You have a D- in biology because in from your time at OC, because I don't know why, because I was super fucking depressed. My life was shit. God forbid I could focus on school because I was at that time literally pissing green because all the drugs in my system. So I don't know. But, excuse me. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Anyway, fast forward all the way to here. I apply on a whim and they accept me. And then I'm talking to these people and they're like, hey, you have all these credits. You can get out of here in a fucking year and a half. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm saying, I'm into cannabis. I'm into cannabis. I want to do extractions. I want to do this. And like, oh, okay. Come on in. Come into the greenhouse. First day I walk into the greenhouse, gentlemen. Greenhouse there's giant greenhouse, and then there's like different sections of it. There's like one section for like, where they're growing all the fruits, and they have like gigantic vegetable vines with like tomatoes and shit. And the other one's like, succulents and small orchid flowers. And then you walk into the third one, and I walk in, I get a bitch slap of a familiar smell of my apartment. I'm like, this isn't supposed to be here. And I look to my left, gentlemen, and there's 6 fucking gigantic adult hemp plants just chilling there. And I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? That was week 1, and that was, February of this year. So here I am. So make long story
walked
short, I have all this science background and all this other shit, and just finally now, after all this journey of trying to get cannabis, after going through hell again, I'm missing. I'm excluding a lot of fucking other bullshit that happened. But like getting here now, I'm like, hey, I'm surrounded by hemp after all this work I did. Unbeknowingly, it all worked out after fucking like killing myself and all this shit. And I don't know.
It reminds me of, I don't want to say it's like it's not a meme. I don't think it's a meme.
No.
It's a picture of like where people are like what you think your journey will look like, and it's like a straight line. And it's like here to here, and it's like what will actually look like, and it's like just going in every fucking single direction to then it lands there.
Doing like a U-turn,
exactly.
360.
Yeah, dude. I still don't even think I'm quite here yet, because like what I really want to do is like extractions, but you know, I would love to be able to do all this stuff with like sustainably, to also like with sustainable vertical growing with aquaponics, using like fish runoff, and like basically the fish are here, the cannabis plants are in the middle, and then if I can have a controlled environment, I can have bees come in there and pollinate everything, and then you know use the honey for something. You know, or I have interest in making mead. So why not honey? You know, infused honey mead from naturally pollinated cannabis plants. Who the fuck knows? You know what I mean?
It sounds like an endless.
That's the beauty of cannabis, because it depends on the cannabinoid that you're using. Whether you're using it to help kill cancer cells, or you're using it to help an upset stomach, it all depends on what you're using it for. Like a lot of people don't realize like there's hundreds of cannabinoids and like hundreds of thousands of chemicals in plants in general, and the ones that we're worried about that we talk about are two chemicals. THC and CBD are the ones that we know about.
Right.
People don't realize like if anyone hears this and they're above me in science, correct me please, or don't come at me too hard, but I think like THC is a 6-carbon ring, or a 6-ring bond, and there's like with a fatty tail or some shit like that, like the difference between THC and CBD is like one of those rings. It's literally like doing, if there's a whole ring, it's like that. That's it. It's just one little bond that disconnects the entire ring, which makes it a 5-ring thing. And that flexibility makes it so useful to our bodies, because a lot of people also don't know that our endocrine system, which is people going back to biology, your hormone system, like if there's your regular hormone system, attached to that is these little things called endocannabinoid receptors. I wonder what that's all about. Endocannabinoid, endocrine cannabinoid, cannabis. Huh? What could that be? Could us and many other species, this is not just humans. Many species have this. Humans, dogs. I think great apes, like a lot of mammals, I think some reptiles have it. I think birds do too. I'm not really sure. I know mammals have it. Let's just say that.
Right.
As far as I've gotten, gentlemen. I'm sorry, I'm working here. Anyway, like you have specific receptors for these molecules that are on parts of your body that control everything else you do. Your hormones control basically fucking everything. So you tell me, gentlemen.
I'm sold.
You know what I mean?
There's no such thing as a coincidence.
Exactly. No. I can't. Phoebe, what is that? What's that? Oh fuck! I forgot the saying. Never mind. It was like, feed me. I don't even remember. Fuck it. Anyway, but yeah, it's been a long, interesting road of bullshit. I still like. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's weird being here. I'm still not quite used to it because I'm still not done. But like,
well, I think from what you sound like and how you kind of talk about it, I don't think you'll ever be done. Like, I think if you could, from like the passion it sounds like you have behind it, if you had the fish here and then the plants and then like you said the bees and then you make the mead, I think that would turn another wheel, and then you're like, oh wait,
Yeah.
what if I do this, and that'll turn another wheel, and like I
Exactly.
think that's where you'll always get, which is a good thing. That
Yeah.
means you're passionate about
Thank
it.
you.
You'll always, you know.
Thank you. And that's the beauty of cannabis, is that it's so versatile and nuanced. And like, you know, I can make flavored cannabis water, or I can make, you know, hemp plastic.
Mm.
Like, I don't know if people know this, like Henry, this was I think a testing thing, so I'm not gonna, you know, romanticize it too much, but like Henry Ford made hemp fenders for one of his early models, not necessarily the Model T, but like afterwards. And there is a video on YouTube of Henry Ford with Henry Ford, you know, hemp fender or some shit like that, and he's hitting it with a fucking hammer, and the hammer's bouncing off. He's not necessarily, you know, going balls to the wall with it, but like you hit metal once and it's dented because of the chemical structure of metal is so tight that there's no like flexibility. It just, if it gets hit, it folds that way.
Right.
When
It
you
changes
have
the whole integrity of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
When you have something with a bit more flexibility and it's not so tight like plant material, it's still as durable, if not more, because it can flex a little bit and then retain its elasticity and then come back and then bounce the force off.
Mm.
What is better for what is, you know, that's auto mechanics. That's out of my fucking realm. I'm just the weed guy. But
well, I've heard that before, that hemp is like can be used to make so many fucking things that they don't use it for, and I don't know if it's a legality thing, like because if they say, I've heard it put before that if they changed and made a lot of things, I think one thing they said was clothes. I don't know if that's correct. I could be making shit up, but they're like,
sir,
it would
I
put
have a hemp
so
jacket.
much shit out of business.
I have a fucking hemp jacket. Fuck out of here.
Oh, do you?
Yes. Like, all right. I have a hemp jacket hanging up right now. My buddy in high school had a hemp longboard. Like, again, when we think of hemp, it is literally just a group of species of sativa plants. So like it's like a different, so there's sativa indica hybrid that you think of at like when you look on Leafly, let's just say. Hemp is the sativa section of that stuff. It's a bit longer, more stalkier, it has different chemical structure, everything else. So we have like naturally growing breeds of hemp are different. So like in America, we just like, let's say in like 1800s and prior, we had cultivated it for like using it for straw and not straw, for cordage and things like that. We also use it for canvas and all these other things. Like, I don't know, the literal fucking soil, the nutrients in soil of Asia, ancient Asian farmers, the nutrients that they grow fucking rice on was from years of hemp that degraded and provided nutrients so people could fucking eat rice thousands of years later. Like, it's not some fucking new thing. Like,
Right.
like Indie Kush is like from the Kush Mountains is indica based cannabis from the Kush Mountains. So with hemp, like we just, in America at least, we used to cultivate it for a million fucking things. Also, one thing real quick, we used it for canvas sheets, cannabis. Huh. It's a little something there, gentlemen, huh? The etymology of cannabis comes from, I think, like there was papyrus and there was hemp, but it was called something, you know, different, obviously, in fucking Greek, Rome, Egyptian, whatever the fuck. Anyway, So fast forward to, let's say, 1920s. We have American farmers growing hemp all over the place. You have roaring 20s of America, going balls to the wall with everything. Journalism is, kicking on because we have all these different new mediums of things, silent films, and short dollar, 10-cent novels, and whatever, all these other things. So one of those mediums was, what do you know, newspapers. And for anyone that wants to go back to 7th grade fucking history and remember a 2 little word saying called yellow journalism that we now know today is fake news. It's funny how history repeats itself, gentlemen. So one of the proprietors of said yellow journalism was a man called William Randolph Hearst. And William Randolph Hearst, and there's another guy that was fucking a big part of this, and I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but you guys might remember this. Have you ever heard of Hearst Publishing?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, it's, you know what, you might not know exactly, but you've probably heard of it through one thing or another. That was founded by William Randolph Hearst in early 1900s, and basically America is going nuts with hemp. We use it for numerous things in World War One, and again, and this is even before the precipice of the events that led to World War II. So don't forget. So, like, cannabis is hemp is being grown for this, that, and the third. And then I was doing a report on cannabis a while ago, and I came across this article from the U.S. Department of Agriculture from like 1926 or something like that, that said we cannot demonize this plant because we do not know its capabilities with our current understanding of science. They said that was like a couple scientists that said that. And then soon after, in the event of hemp being used for paper and it being a commodity that was both cheap, efficient, sustainable, all these other things, really, really didn't bid well
natural,
but that did not bid well with people, like with lumber providers who were using trees for paper.
Mm-hmm.
Again, trees for houses is one thing, but trees for paper is another thing. So I think Hearst had just bought land or just hadn't done some kind of thing with a lumber company or his own thing. He had just invested a lot of shit in lumber, in trees for his paper. So with that being said, he starts going on and on about on a fucking yellow journalism campaign about cannabis, about hemp. So
then he used his publishing to badmouth hemp because it would have fucked up his business.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, listen to this shit. So at the time, you guys may remember this, but like early 1900s is like Mexican Revolution, like pre-Pancho Villa and all these other things, or maybe this was Pancho Villa, I guess. So you have all these immigrants coming from northern Mexico. What is now Texas? What was once Mexico? God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these immigrants coming up, and into like these southern neighborhoods. And again, it's not just in Texas, it's Louisiana, it's Southern California, Nevada, whatever the fuck. And Hearst starts going on about like that Mexicans and Black people are coming from the South and going on and sexually assaulting white women in the suburbs and all this other shit. And he just goes on and on about this. And okay, there was a slang term, like how we call, cocaine, like dust or some shit or whatever. Like
book of sugar.
Yeah, exactly. White girl, book of sugar, white girl. That from that Kevin Hart thing.
Right.
There was a species of wild growing tobacco, nicotine containing plant, not cannabis, tobacco, that Mexicans happen to call marijuana. Now, this big old scary southern exotic word was too beyond the likes of Southern country folk at the time, for Southern white people who couldn't understand a little bit of cultural diffusion. So they took Wayer and us Hurst, like, went on this thing about marijuana and reefer madness and all this other shit. So that's where the term marijuana got miscommunicated as the label for cannabis, and that's why we know it as that today. And that's one of the things that started the like ball rolling on the prohibition of hemp and everything else. So you fast forward, let's say all this happens like around 1930, maybe a little bit before this. 30 fucking years later, you have the Sweeping Psychedelics Act of 1960. And then fucking 20 years after that, you have Nancy Reagan. And then 20 years after that, you got Snoop Dogg. And 20 years after that, you got me. So, gang.
And somewhere in between all that, and like 1997, I'm in elementary school here being taught that if you smoke marijuana, you're probably going to wind up murdering a lot of people at some point. It's just that gateway. Yeah. There's no turning back.
The devil's
just
lettuce.
Say no. Fuck out of here. Listen,
funny.
All due respect, I have learned more. Okay, as a person that suffers with I'm not condoning, for anyone who's listening to this, I'm not condoning doing anything I'm about to say. I am merely explicitly saying of a personal experience, I had to say this.
Mm-hmm.
But I have gotten far more of my own benefits of my own mental health and learning who I am and bettering my life from my psychedelic experiences than I have with any amount of fucking therapy I will ever try and get.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm merely saying that I've tried both and I know it works.
Well, yeah, that's an important distinction. Like, you know, everybody's different. So some people speaking to somebody might be better, and somebody like you, you know, the psychedelics are better for you.
I am
different strokes for different folks, but
yeah,
exactly. I'm one that, for myself, I'm like a weird kaleidoscope of introverted characteristics and extroverted characteristics. But I am, you know, extroverted introvert or introverted extrovert. I'm not quite sure. Depends on the day. But like the point being, like, it just I don't know. It depends on your brain chemistry and everything else, but just I know what helped me, and I just have to clarify. Like, I'm not condoning them unless you are prescribed them. However, compounds. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you said that you were an open book, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I ask this and you don't want to answer it, you could just be like, next question. I'll tell you off the air.
No, fuck out of here.
You mentioned that, you know, they've helped you for your own personal mental well-being. So, like, can you name drop maybe a few that you've done that you're like, you know, like, oh, this shit like really fucking spoke to me for some reason?
I would say that. May I preface this with my with scientific background before I say anything?
Sure, do it. Yeah,
thank you. Okay, so
no, promote drugs.
I'm gonna promote science and drugs.
Okay,
I'm Ian, motherfucker. No, but okay. So we are all aware of psychedelic mushrooms, which is psilocybin, and then things like LSD and then DMT, and we probably have this internal ranking of what psychedelics are super strong and what psychedelics are like more culturally accepted, so to speak, especially in America. So, like, you know, we think of like mushrooms and LSD and like as like lower grade psychedelics, and then we think of like you know, DMT is this one thing, and then like ayahuasca is this other thing, and then peyote and all this other shit. Like, because it's the source of it is usually from a foreign place. We associate it with this other thing in our head. Like, it's all dependent on the chemical structure of the drug, to be clear. So just to break down three of them real quick. I've only done 2 of these. Mushrooms, psilocybin, have this very interesting characteristic where they promote what's known as neurogenesis, which is the neurogenesis is the creation of new neurons in the brain. which is, if no one fucking knows, neurons are the things that literally carry electrical signals that are our thoughts and our intentions and all this other shit.
Right.
If you haven't seen,
neurons are firing.
exactly.
And shit. Yeah.
I would much recommend seeing In and Out, Inside Out, or Hope, just for reference. They do a wonderful job.
So great.
They really do. And so what psilocybin does is it promotes your brain to make new ones of these in places that that you don't necessarily have them, if not from trauma or from literal birth defects or whatever. So that's why the stone ape theory came from this, of like, early hominids eating these over and over and over again over time from their following of ungulate cow, hoofed animal species, following them and eating them over time. It's not entirely out of the realm of thought, but like I'm not an anthropologist, so I can't say shit. But so that's one thing. LSD is one that will trauma, stress, anxiety, all these other things cause our neurons to be like to overfire, and from that over signaling and over sending of electrical signals, the dendrites, the literal things that connect our neurons in our brains, if anyone's taken Psych 101, it literally starts to shrivel them and take away the dendrites, and so there's less electrical connections. So there's, instead of a lot of them, there's only a few, or none at all, depending on how traumatized you are, admittedly. So like, depending on if you're a depressed kid or a war veteran, depending on how much trauma you're experiencing, your brain can experience the shriveling of neurons. So it's totally dependent on actual trauma. What happens is with LSD, it can promote the not regeneration, but the like repairing of these things. So they'll pull your dendrites back together, so to speak. So that's one thing. That's another thing. DMT and other.
Just to touch on that real quick. If you go from like having very little, or like you said, none, to them all now, not all of them, maybe a good amount of them pulling back together and joining up again, it's got to put you into fucking overload, because
it repairs things that's already supposed to be there.
Right. Okay.
It's not necessarily an overload as much as it is like. Well, I may have misunderstood what you were saying, but if you were saying like the repairing of it is an overload, like that, it just is like your ability to even process those electrical signals repairs itself. So your ability repairs itself on top of. So it's like, I don't know, like you can only send so many signals across so many pathways. So it just allows more of those pathways to happen. So okay. Like if you're a totally non-empathetic person and you continue to take acid and really do actual introspective thinking while you're tripping and all these other things, it can induce more of those neurons in the parts of your brain that you're working. If you're actively trying to be more empathetic, you can help the neurons in the parts of your brain that are control empathy. I forget what part. I don't want to misquote it, but it can help those neurons repair themselves in that part of your brain, assuming that you have trouble with empathy. Let's just say.
Right. Okay.
That's one example. Whereas something like DMT, this I'm quoting the particular study that I'm referencing. It was, they had all this research was done on lab rats, and it was later done on, at least with mushrooms and LSD. I know they've done studies of this on humans. I know for DMT, when they did it on lab rats, it was in and out of the actual system of the metabolic system, the digestive system, everything else, within like, I think maximum of all the rats that they tried was like 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours. But the brain was repairing itself and rewiring itself, and both repairing itself and causing neurogenesis, so making new ones, all these other things for like, I think a 24-hour period from mode of action, ingesting it, whatever the fuck. So anyway, so with that all being said, I have had very, very intense psychedelic trips on acid, and I have microdosed on shrooms.
Okay.
And I would say the first time I did it, I was like, I was kind of cocky about it. I was like, all right, I'm a fairly confident person. I'm one of those weird people that like, I don't think I'm good at shit. And I will never admit to myself that I'm good at things, but I have this weird innate confidence that I'm just going to do shit because I'm fucking Ian and I've done shit before. And listen, like, fuck out of here. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. But I still have this trouble with like thinking I ain't shit while having to do a million things to prove to myself and a million other people that I am. But it's this weird revolving cycle, but it makes me do cool shit. So it's just, you know what I'm saying? Ride the trauma, baby. Ride the trauma. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if you, sorry, pardon my my pooch.
It's all right. Oh, the babies.
Oh, he thinks he hears something. He's
the
just
beans.
okay. Good boy. You did okay.
Oh, the beans.
If you got the chance to do so, DMT, would you take it up?
I have had the chance to do it, but I was not necessarily in the right mindset because I was so like distraught with fucking COVID and school and taking 21 credits. So like at the time, I just knew that it was not like at the time it was not for me, Chief. You know what I'm saying? If I would in the future, absolutely. Right now, I'm comfortable with the occasional acid or mushroom trip, but for some introspection. And also like I don't know, I would say like so the first time I did it was like, oh yeah, fuck it, yeah, you know me, fuck it, I'll ride the light. I literally said, all right, ride the lightning. Those are my words. And oh boy, did fucking Thor and Odin hear me. Because let me tell you, boys, a good friend of mine explained to me, my very knowledgeable friend who in psychology and psychedelics, he explained to me that when you do acid, it's kind of, when you do like acid and you have a very intense trip, it's kind of like sitting down in front of the mirror of yourself and seeing all the things about yourself and all the things that you hide about yourself from yourself and all of your shit and all your bullshit too, especially all your bullshit. So like in the process of like, all right, in the process of doing this, I had taken it and whatever, and like right as we took it, right as we took it, secularly to what we were doing, a young child got hurt just from falling off a trampoline, like total like kid accident, just like la da 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 da, la da da. I'm gonna go on the slide plastic dropped from one side and kid fell a foot, like a little foot just landed weird on his elbow. So he was like, ow, 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 ow. So I'm like, well, that went in me and that just happened. Fuck. By the way, this was my first actual psychedelic experience. Prior to that, when I was in high school, I tried a candy flip, which I think is Molly and acid. I was like partying at SUNY Purchase when I was like 17 or 16. And yeah, I had an interesting childhood and teenagehood. But anyway.
Fucking write a book.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry. We're working on it. I'm still I'm in like chapter 10. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I got a long autobiography for it, right? I had tried it then, it didn't work. So I had taken 3 tabs of what I did not know were like triple dipped gel tabs, meaning the dosage of those were 3 times the average of a single tab. So
Right.
I basically took 9 tabs for my
I was gonna
first.
say so three
For the first.
3 times 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just went balls to the wall the first time.
I rode the lightning.
You rode the lightning.
And let me tell you, I rode the lightning, but the thunder struck very soon afterwards because like the kid who got hurt like was totally fine. He hurt his elbow a little bit, but like he was super groggy from being in pain. He, you know, he was a little kid. So he just was like, all right, I'm gonna he goes to take a nap. This is secular from me. I'm not part of this. But and then I'm tripping and having a very like very deep conversations about life, and I'm talking to these people that I'm getting to know, and just like basically I remember like basically I was like, oh, I went from like, oh shit, man, fucking walls are changing colors and everything's moving, to I wonder if the vibrations that are caused by pain can be felt within other beings in the universe. Like it went from this to that real quick because of the events that were happening. And like the kid wouldn't wake up because he was such in a deep sleep. So like when I heard I can't wake him up, I was like, what?
Right.
So like it was all this other shit, and then I just fucking went on a spiral bad trip after that. But one thing about acid, all right, one very thing important about acid that you people need to know is that you can pull trig and make yourself throw up, and the trip will stop. Like it'll go from a 10 to a 3 just by yourself throwing up. Like,
oh really?
Yes. A lot of people should know that. It is a very useful little trick. I'm not sure why. I don't really know why. That does not work for mushrooms, but it works for acid. Just saying.
I feel like that should be like if whoever you're like introduces you into this stuff, they should be like, hey, have you ever made yourself throw up? And you're like, why? And you're like, well, because here's why. This is your fucking your ripcord, like to pull this is your kick to get you out. Like,
it's kind of like the way. Here's the thing. I didn't know that until I was already deep in. So it's kind of like telling somebody how to use a parachute while you're already falling. So, but all right. With that being said, though, after that, I think I tripped another 2 times within that week, and then I did it another time or 2 or whatever, a few times later that, a few months after that. And through those trips and very introspective experiences, I realized like I don't know, I have a very, very hard time like allowing myself to tell myself that like, hey, fucker, like you it's okay, you can like take a second to like look at what you've done and allow yourself to be proud of your accomplishments. But I'm like, no, none of that means fucking shit because I'm not there yet.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, like I remember I was tripping and I looked at my stock. I was just checking my stock investments, and I had realized like, oh, so for a while it was just, very like static and it wasn't going anywhere. And then COVID hit and the market crashed, and I was in class all fucking day, but like in my free time during the day, I would just I would smartly make smart trading choices whenever, and I slowly incremented my way up to leagues beyond what I used to have. So in this trip, I was like, wow, it's almost like my life was going static, and then it got really shitty, and then I had to pull myself out of the gutter, get level again, and then shoot beyond like things that I can't even imagine. And that was like, that was like low level shit compared to, that was just in the transition of online classes to online classes before I even got to where I am now. So looking back at it a year later, 2 years later, whatever, it's like, holy fuck, I actually did what I'm doing what I am imagined I was doing back then. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Chef's Table on Netflix.
Okay.
It's a show
I've seen
about
part of it.
it's a show about like chefs and their lives and everything. And there was 2 episodes that really, really fucking, like, I don't know, they really struck me in the soul. One was about a guy that was like, he took the entire process of farm to table and literally like, no, I'm gonna run the farm and I'm gonna run the restaurant and I'm gonna know every fucking thing in between. And another guy did the same thing but with like wild game from the Amazon. And one of the things about being my love of science, I'm also a huge outdoorsman. I'm a huge hunter. I'm a huge fisherman, like all these other things. On top of being a conservationist, on top of being a very, very much one for land management and everything else. So I'm a very, very interesting dinner guest for people who don't like hunters.
But you can see both sides of it. Like,
but that's the thing. I'm like, tell me, I don't know, like predators have been part of ecosystems forever, and we've removed all the predators, and we consider everyone fucking bitches and complains that humans are the predators of the world and we're the worst. Well, that some of that might be true, but like, what are you gonna do? Just let everything fucking overgrow and then kill itself? Like, do you not want it to live?
It's really crazy how much, when you boil it down to it, how every little thing is there for a reason and how it impacts the greater. And like one little change can like really dictate a whole change in the whole world, pretty much.
Listen, just to give you an example of one little thing that can change the whole world. Do you understand that? Okay, well, do you know the word topsoil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Topsoil refers to like, let's say fucking max 3 inches of soil. I'm like 3 inches to a couple centimeters of soil that literally run the entire fucking earth, because that's what we grow our shit in. That's what the microbes and the microbes help the plants help the bigger animals, the bigger animals and them eat those animals, and so on and so forth. It's kind of like a fucking ecosystem, huh? It's kind of like this entire fucking thing we call Earth, that we call life and existence, happens because of a very, 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 very small, thin layer of soil, and no one knows that. So, like, with that being said, extrapolating that to everything else, it's like, okay, if you don't want me to kill the wild boars in Texas that are destroying that soil, so plants can't grow, so water gets in, so pesticides from beef ranches, from all the manure and all the excess nitrogen and phosphorus from their manure runs in and gets this soil, and it kills that pH, so no endemic native plants can grow there, all because you said no, the pig has to live. Like, okay, wild boar are a bad example because they're such like on the fringe of what a predator species can, what a invasive kind of predator species can do. But like, I don't know, you need a balance of
everything.
management, culling, and compassion. Like, maybe those aren't necessarily the right words, but like there needs to be like this lotus flower of the 3 petals of each side, one here, one here, and one here, or whatever the fuck. Maybe not lotus, but I don't know, whatever.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, little feng shui, baby.
Yeah, little feng shui. I mean, I think it's just the more you you learn about kind of like what needs to be like sustained and everything, then that's really when you can have an appreciation for it. And there's people who do it the right way, like you say, and then there's people who just abuse the system. There's going to be that in everything. So
Unfortunately,
yeah, it's the people who do it the wrong way that give the whole other things the bad rap, which is unfortunate. And I mean, I'm not somebody necessarily who's like, you know, vegan or vegetarian or anything, but I get every little aspect of like, you know, like I give them power because I mean I just love eating meat and stuff like that. But then like, you know, watching documentaries, you see like what certain industries are doing. And I'm a big like documentary person. I love you know, seeing the stories behind it and then seeing like what things are doing to the world in a sense. I mean, just little small changes can definitely be beneficial.
No, absolutely. But I just like small change. Here's the thing. Small changes can obviously be beneficial and have the butterfly effect of positivity and change for beyond toward species beyond our comprehension that we can even realize that it's being affected, they're being affected by this, that, and the third. But like, I'm not against, I'm certainly like, as we said in the beginning of this conversation, I'm both an artist and a scientist. I'm all for science being pushed in a visual medium and everything else. But at the same fucking time, like I cannot take a documentary seriously that is pushes so hard for one side of something, pushing veganism or condemning this, that, the third, and just like, yes, point out like, yes, we need to have these things exposed, and like ag-gag laws, which we can't film certain agriculture things happening, is ridiculous. I totally get it. But like, we are all students of media. We have to remember like perception is a very, very big part of this. And like, it's hard for me to say, like, I know I have to like play all these different sides of the fucking chessboard, but like, like, please, it's like, I want to tell everyone, like, if you're going to watch them and take in the information, but like, don't forget the grain of salt reminding you to say like, all right, who made this and what are they trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to say, all right, it's one thing to be fucking David Attenborough at the end of a fucking thing of, you know, BBC Earth or something, talking about, you know, mountain gorillas and showing a beautiful documentary, and then at the end saying their habitat has been caused by poaching and everything else, like, and giving you like, hey, it's a beautiful thing, but it's also really fucked and we should be really worried about it. Let's do something about it. That's one thing versus the entire fucking thing having a very specific end goal of pushing one narrative and one specific perspective of all this, when it's not like, why environmental issues is a bipartisan thing is beyond me. Last time I fucking checked, I breathe the same air you do, homie. And like, I don't know, trees and microorganisms that make our fucking oxygen. I don't know. I like them.
They're pretty important.
I'm sure you like them. Yeah,
I mean, a little bit, and they kind of sustain, you know, us.
Yeah.
And I forget who I was just talking with this about, but about documentaries, and like you said, like some of them, like Tiger King, you know what I mean, and then like Don't Fuck with Cats, like they're different type of documentaries, and you're just kind of just there for the ride, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But other ones, you're more or less, the documentary is supposed to be just like, here's the raw information, here it is, you make your decision off of it. We're just documenting the information accurately. We're not, like you said, pitching and like pushing a narrative kind of towards it. And
but with that being said, I'm not against veganism. I'm 100% supportive of veganism, but it's like, okay, by all means, I thank you for your ability to empathize and sympathize with these animals and not want to cause them suffering, and therefore you don't ingest them or products of them because you believe that leads to their suffering if you take part of that, and or even health issues of not being able to eat certain things or whatever. I totally get it. But listen, as a like, like things like monocropping and things like people take like monocropping of fields that destroy biodiversity and native species, excuse me, like all these other things get thrown out the window. We don't think of like, you have any fucking idea how much water it takes to grow almonds? It's ridiculous.
No.
It's I admittedly forget the measures of like X amount of water for X area for X amount of acres of almond fields or whatever. Depends on how many trees you have, but like it's kind of ridiculous. And like, but here's the thing: almonds are great. I like a little almond on my ice cream once in a while. You know, I like some almond milk and a nice little thing when I don't know. I can't knock anybody for wanting the product, but like in the process of pushing one thing over another, and again, I'm not against marketing. I'm not against the business person. I am all about entrepreneurship, but like, where does the line draw between like advertising soy milk and almond milk over regular milk, and then feeding people pesticides unbeknownst to them because of the amount of water and drain runoff that has all these herbicides and pesticides and fungicides and all this other shit, versus like dairy. But like, how many fucking people can even process lactose in dairy? Number one, which is a genetic thing that's not even their fucking fault. Number two, people that like, all right, dairy cows are usually the happiest fucking cows in the world. I'm not a fucking dairy shill. I drink milk as much as the other next fucking person, but like, there are issues with that in animal ethics, and as long as they're being taken care of, hell yeah. But like, the point being, there's such a expansive amount of resources that go into every fucking thing that we do, and we have no idea. And it's by nature, human beings tend to live within their own village of perspective anyway, and that's kind of by design, kind of out of necessity of survival, because our brains can only handle so much information at once.
There's all those mushrooms back in the day from those.
I'm saying, player. They only grew so much. They only grew so much. They only did so much, ladies and gentlemen. Your brains only have so many folds.
No, I mean, I hear you, because as we grow, as we learn more about different things, then there'll be a problem with something else. And as we, that's just the nature of, learning more in different fields,
Absolutely. And these are not like, yes, there are certainly things that are irreversible that have been done, but like, glaciers also did things that were irreversible. Fucking earthquakes do things that are irreversible. Yeah.
Yeah, Titanic. You want to talk about the fucking Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
It's kind of irreversible here.
Hey, listen, that's an iceberg, not a glacier. You fucking leave them out of this.
You're absolutely right. I apologize.
Don't you dare. Glaciers are just shit.
But real quick, to get back to like what you were talking about, the documentaries, I think one of them, which is very in the realm of what you were talking about, was, if you've seen it, Seaspiracy.
I haven't seen Seaspiracy yet.
Great.
But go ahead.
You're iffy? Is that what you're saying?
I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, the same people that made Seaspiracy made Cowspiracy.
Okay, I'm not positive.
That is a guess. I'm
okay.
Not sure, but like, remembering from Cowspiracy, they just condemned agriculture and beef farming, and all they talked about was how much nitrogen and how much methane and all these other things go into the atmosphere because of
all the cows.
Greenhouse gases go into the atmosphere because of manure. Not taking into account gas burned from monocropping fields, not taking into account the biodegrading of the amount of fucking food that we throw away. You ever think of that? People also don't think, okay, little tidbit. I used to work in a grocery store. I work in a grocery store, and I worked in many restaurants. I work in food service now, X, Y, and Z. The amount of food that is perfectly edible that is thrown out at a daily fucking rate truly, truly hurts my soul. I have watched the deli department, the bakery department, produce, everything just fucking fling shit into the trash that can't be sold legally, but is totally fine to eat. And the amount of water and resources and every pesticides and soil nutrients and everything else that is being thrown away, thrown in the garbage, and then taken to the landfill, and then just being dumped and left to rot. Causing soil nutrients to be taken from the soil that they need to grow the fucking soybeans with to make tofu, and then tell you to go fuck yourself for eating beef.
As someone who works in the food industry as well, I will 100% agree with that. The amount of shit that is fucking tossed is fucking mind blowing.
And again, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I am just fucking calling a spade a spade.
Yeah, you're right in the middle. Like, you can see both sides of it.
I have to be, because it would be disrespectful both to humanity and to the earth and to the other organisms that happen to eat the same foods that I do. Because I like an apple. The deer likes an apple. You know what I'm saying?
It's such a weird fucking thing too. Like, because we are the advanced species on the planet, at least. Well, I mean, UFOs are officially real now, so we gotta check our pecking order real quick. But sometimes, and again, like you, I don't knock people for their lifestyle or what they do. I teach his own, like literally, but like we can't do this and we can't do that. Well, it's also kind of a geographical thing too, because like we've taken over this country and this land, and it's the humans we fucking control. I wouldn't say all of it, but a good amount of it. You know what I mean?
Most of it.
Where let me take you with your fucking ideology and fucking slap you into the middle of the fucking of Africa and see if your attitude really. Yeah. The lion don't give a shit. The cheetah don't give a shit.
Exactly. They don't listen. I'm sorry. They don't know that if you're walking at night in a field when you think lions are around, you keep your peripherals tilted forwards on either side of you. Do you know why? Because your peripherals are your peripheral vision came from our hominid ancestors being chased by lions and tigers and other fucking things. So to escape it, to try and not be eaten at night, you use your peripherals in a weird way, walking like this, or walking forward with either side of you to check an alternating like head turns to see if there's lions. But no one that took the time to learn about these organisms that they share the fucking earth with would know that. Now, a lot of people don't fucking know that. I'm a little extreme. I understand. Many people don't know that. But like, it's these kinds of things of like, would you know to cut a plant for water or for fruit or whatever? Like, it's all right. Maybe that's also another thing that a lot of people don't know. But like, the point is that the lack of exposure of these things often causes a lack of acknowledgement.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. All right. I'm gonna throw it out there. That goes for a lot of fucking other things. Racism. That goes for a lot of other things. Religion. You know what I'm saying? Exposure breeds the lack of exposure breeds the lack of acknowledgement.
Yeah, and then I think even to go back to your point of you're going from your spot, your home in Warwick, and going to your home in the city, you got a lot more diversity than some of the other kids who are stuck in this one area. So you see more.
And I'm at the time, did I want to be a fucking child being dragged in a work van to go do construction work in the city as a child?
No. Did you get paid?
No.
He's a child. No, he didn't get paid.
I'm the son of an Italian electrician. You think what I got paid in? Food.
Hey, I mean,
you're living here. You have a roof over your head.
You like your fucking lights? I put these lights here.
Yeah. Also, too, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see it, being that you were talking about the lions and everything at night, but on Netflix there's a dope docuseries called Night on Earth, and they touch. You watch it?
I've seen that. I think I watched it a little while ago, but I do remember that one.
Just seeing everything at night and just seeing that the camera can do that, I was just like in my Zen moment. I'm like, what do you got your ISO on? Like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
camera you got?
But and that goes to my point of why I like not to be a dick and make this about me, but like that's the exact point of like why I'm doing science and media.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I might be doing. It's kind of like I'm just trying to make my money off of one kind of science, so that I can have the time to expose more science with media.
Yeah.
Because I can do like, all right, not to be a dick, but like I think you can understand what I'm saying. When you have the skills of different mediums, you can do all sorts of things because you have the basic tools. You can set up a podcast. You can set up a a movie shoot, a photo shoot, whatever. Like you have the basic knowledge of it already. So that extrapolating that to an applied thing, like,
and I'm gonna toot your horn right now.
Play.
The fact that you're just like one of the most genuine and funniest dudes, like you can be that person who brings the knowledge to the people and the masses of like, hey, this is science in a way that like, you know, people can comprehend. And like just the way you commented on that TikTok of like, you broke it down. You're like, basically this is what's happening right now. I didn't know what the fuck was going on in that video. And it was like, seemed so far-fetched, and you broke it down. I was like, oh, that should make sense now.
Well, first of all, thank you very, very much. I sincerely appreciate that. But like, I feel like it's just, if you are able to see it or experience it, you can, like, if you can see it, you can think about it. And then if you can think about it, you can think of how to do it. And then you can think about how to see yourself doing it. And I expect, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that's, for anyone listening, that's like, now extrapolate that to other things, like hence why to our, you know, a lack of wanting to, that's why we need to be exposed to different things in school.
Yes.
And everything. And to some people not understanding, that's why representation matters, you fucks.
Yes.
You know, just for anyone that can't get that point across their head. Anyway,
there's just a blinders that they somehow just, it does not seem to resonate, which is beyond my comprehension. But yes,
it's almost like they have experienced it, so they can't articulate.
Oh yeah, it's almost like
that. Prove my point for me.
And the funny thing is about that real quick is it seems like no matter what, they want to be oppressed so badly, but they just don't know. Like they always play the victim, but it's like you don't actually know.
I know.
But anyway.
Here's another thing. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like this also should be said. I can't blame people for wanting to take recognition of the pain that they themselves have felt in their own lives, because like I don't see the point in playing fucking oppression Olympics with each other and saying, no, fuck you, that's not enough pain that you've been through, I've been through more pain, so your pain is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all in pain in one way or another. Isn't like, isn't the simple answer to that just a wee bit of kindness, a wee bit of love and compassion? Like, it's, or just it doesn't have to fucking be so much goddamn empathy and sympathy that you're playing wife swap with each other and living in each other's fucking houses literally for a week.
Yeah, that was a weird concept. There's so many weird documentaries, just reality shows. Reality is just a cesspool to me. I hate it so much.
Listen, imagine being, one thing about reality TV, thank God for Flavor Flav, because as a small child, I still watch Flavor of Love season 1 and 2 as a child on BET. And let me tell you something. My little white boy ass got exposed to a whole world of women that I would not have seen in the white suburbs. I appreciate you, Flavor Flav. Thank you.
Just to backtrack real quick, and not to go back onto that subject, but
you're good.
Whoever named what was it?
Seaspiracy
instead of conspiracy.
Yeah, no.
Drop the fucking ball. Okay.
Yeah, I actually saw that as a tweet.
Yeah,
that is true.
That was And even just to say to touch on that real quick, that was very, like, I mean, I think it's a good documentary, and I think they went to like very extremes, and I think they put themselves in certain positions that could have gotten them in a lot of trouble, possibly even killed. But you do see it has a one, like, to point to one thing, like it's kind of geared towards like getting you off of fish and showing you the harm that it's doing, the overfishing, how like the industry is manipulated by these people who are saying that these things are farmed conservatively when, you know, they really don't even check it.
Yeah.
But in some aspects of it, they did have some interviews with the people who are in charge of the company who like really didn't have the answers. So it's like they did do their research, but it also is pushing this agenda very hard. But I overall, I definitely think it was a good documentary. And I mean, I've always known about like certain aspects of the industry, like, and like, you know, how this fish might be worse than this fish. So I was like,
Yeah,
very
everybody shits
hesitant
on
and stuff.
tilapia.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just a shitty fish. But but yeah,
See?
so it definitely
I don't eat
put something
seafood,
in
so I'll
my-
fucking know.
it put a seed in my mind of like, hey, can you be a little bit better? Which, I mean, certain times, obviously you got to do it, but
yeah. But I funnily enough, okay, I'm a not to toot my own horn, but I'm a person of art and a person of science, but I'm also a person of many other kinds of sciences. One of those sciences being archaeology and
okay,
everything else. So I was reading an article written by a marine archaeologist who was talking about how she thought she disagreed with like she was like kind of like me in the middle of Seaspiracy, but more on the like, hey, this is my fucking shit, like, bitch, please.
Mhm.
Talking about like, you guys only focus on like, it was so focused on the fact that talking about fishermen and like basically dragging all trying to drag all these the fishing industry under the bus, which to an extent, obviously, it is not out of the question that things like, you know, microplastic from fishing nets gets in the ocean. But like, have we not considered? How about this? You ever go into a grocery store and just think of how many pieces of plastic are in that grocery store at one time?
So much.
Do you ever think of you go into a deli, a bodega, you go into you walk into a 7-Eleven or a gas station, whatever. Just think of how many pieces of petroleum-based plastic are just in that store at any particular time, filled with drinks, filled with this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the fucking fishermen.
Yeah.
Like, I love Coca-Cola. I love Coke products. I like all this other shit. But they're one of like the number one fucking polluters in the world.
Mhm.
So is it my fault as a consumer? Is it their fault as the product producer? Is it the driver's fault in the middle? So for bringing one to the other, like, where does the diffusion of responsibility for all these things gets placed on all these other people that the fucking problem never gets addressed? So you have
we got to go to the root of it.
So in attempt to address it, you get very, very biased perspectives, or not biased perspectives, but so singularly narrowed kinds of perspectives like these things that it flaws our view even more and perpetuates the cycle. And here we are.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Just little me.
Even down the middle.
You're right. You are a fucking great dinner guest.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the one
When
who
you're
was like,
back in I was gonna say when you're back in the Hudson Valley, fucking let's all meet up and get a beer or something.
Oh, my brother. I'm done with school in like 30 days.
dope.
By the way, I have been, just for anyone like who is worrying about like, and who might be in the process of worrying about school or thinking about school or anything like this, like, it may take time to get where you need to get in that school journey, but I promise you it's worth it.
Mhm.
I would have never in my fucking mind, never in the deepest, darkest parts of my soul, would have thought I would be doing things like advanced chemistry and biology and biotechnology things just a couple of years ago when I was just trying to get through a math class because I couldn't get through algebra.
Mhm.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
And you're in your fourth school now? Your fourth college, correct? Did I count that up right?
Yes. Fourth college for just college. Yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
And then you said you're gonna
try and go to
Cornell,
Cornell for their master's program,
right? Which would push you on to your fifth.
Yeah,
Which
master's
I
in
think is a
professional
great-
services for hemp. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. That like, hey, even if like you have this itch for knowledge and learning, if you go to this one place and you're like you said, like when you were at I guess your first run at SUNY Orange, you're like, man, so
Yeah.
like this is just fucking wearing on me.
Not to mention, why was I at SUNY Orange? Do you guys know that I graduated high school early to get a job being an electrician in New York City, and I lived that life? I got the fucking shit kicked out of me by the School of Hard Knocks of New York City construction. My 18th fucking listen, gentlemen, my 18th fucking birthday. What was my present? Having a pink slip to show up at the Empire State Building at 7 a.m. to start my first shift as a electrical apprentice. My 18th birthday, boys. Okay.
Jesus.
Like, not like I did that for a while. It truly wasn't for me. I graduated early for that fucking shit. I worked my ass off to get there. I did it, and it wasn't for me. And I was like, listen, I can be a construction worker, make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this.
It's good money.
Between my connections and all due respect, I'm fucking smart. Let's just call a spade a spade. I know I'm intelligent. I can make shit work. I can make shit work on a construction site if I really wanted to, but it just was simply incongruent with who I was. I just didn't want to do construction for the rest of my life. I'm glad I know how to do it. It's immeasurably valuable skills to have, but it's
not for you. Yeah.
Was not my trade of passion. I then went from that to my first semester at OC, and that was the first time I met Mark, our professor.
Yes.
And then, between, like, I think back on it now, like, I don't know. One quick example, like, when my friends were on senior trip for they went to like Virginia Beach or something. You want to know what I was doing?
Studying.
No.
Oh.
I was still working construction.
Oh, okay.
The night that they were all in Virginia Beach, I had left the construction job at the Empire State Building, and I was working at Mount Sinai Medical School at 95th and 5th or some shit on the east side of Manhattan. We had to drill a hole from the floor above the library into the library to connect something. So we had to work all fucking day, work extra, wait till the school got out, come back at night, drill a fucking hole through concrete into the library, do all that shit, do all the wiring and everything, clean up, go back, and then show up for work the next day.
I was gonna say, and then the next day you're expected to be there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go again.
Yeah, to do another day of construction.
Right.
You know what my friends were doing? They were fucking getting shit-faced on the beach as teenagers. So we learned different lessons. We live different lives. But I ain't mad about it. I'm just saying, like, I'm only just saying this to anyone who's listening. Just like, hey, like, school. There is a very big difference between having a degree and having an education.
Absolutely. I will 100% agree with that.
Gem, baby.
Gem right there.
I don't necessarily think those are my words. I might be articulating it differently from another young man who's
podcast.
had this.
They're yours.
Fair enough. But I don't know, man. Just for anyone listening, like, it's worth. You're always gonna learn for the rest of your life. Like, don't beat yourself up for keep trying to find what you love doing, because I didn't stop trying, and I will never fucking stop trying, and it's worth it.
That's
Use what you have at your disposal.
That's great. I think something that's very important to say is like go to somewhere that you know you're gonna learn, and where you want to go to. Don't go somewhere because your guidance counselor, your parents, anybody else told you to go to this, because sometimes like certain people want to live vicariously through their kids, so they're like, oh, go through to this school or whatever.
Absolutely.
But if you can find that institution where it's actually going to teach you, where you're going to learn, where you're going to be, more educated after it, then that's definitely, the right fit. And I mean, I commend you for like, taking that chance, doing that. You learned that it wasn't for you. And instead of just, I'm going to be miserable the rest of my life doing this, like, you made a change, you went back to school, and now you're after all these years, you're in somewhere where you're in a good place. So that's definitely.
Thank you. And it's like, I almost want to say to people, like, if people are giving you sound advice, like, take it into account, but you don't have to like, take it as scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone is giving you shit for like wanting to go into the music industry, let's say, and say, oh, it's so saturated, like, oh, there's so many artists and everything like that. Like, all right, yeah, that might be true for like producing or whatever, but like, why don't you, if you have an interest in music, why don't you learn technology so that you could do everything in music? You could do if you want to be a producer in music, you should learn like technology, like computer science and technology and part sound engineering and everything else to thus support that thing to make you more credentialed for that thing so that you could stand out. Like if like make yourself, and I don't know, if you want to do something, like almost like take their advice and do the things that they're saying, but like you tailor it to what you want to do. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, I definitely think that's true. And I think we're getting like closer to like the end of our like time that we're kind of like, but
time with me, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, brother.
And definitely in the future would love to have you back. And like we were talking, I definitely want to do some stuff when you're back, and maybe like skip based, or just even if we film some shit of you doing like, like teaching some I'm somebody who is I mean, I enjoy these subjects, and even though I don't know it, it's something that like, just listening to you.
God forbid you like to fucking engage yourself with learning and expanding your intellectual horizons.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Right. And no, I had a lot of fun listening. So I'm definitely down to do some stuff.
Listen, bro, I am done with school in like 30 days. I'll be home at like the end of May.
Perfect.
My brain has been so saturated with left brain.
We're going to get it back to that right brain.
I kind of need a little stimulation in the right brain. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
We'll ride the lightning.
Absolutely damn right.
Yes.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'll never forget you fucking saying that.
What's funny is when you were talking about that whole thing about like you're saying I rode the lightning, all I'm picturing is like fucking Goldmember from Austin Powers, where he's like, Faja, he's getting shocked, and he's like, Faja, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh man. So yeah, man, it was a pleasure. Thank you. This was fucking awesome.
Thank you guys. Holy shit. Like I don't know. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure to see you again. Like Chris, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I hope that we can do some more shit together soon.
Definitely.
Yeah, man,
whether it's this or anything else, like I'm down for anything.
Fucking awesome.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves.